Wanted to talk next, Lou and Amanda, about moths, because lots of questions are coming up. We're getting lots of questions about moths, what they look like, what damage, how do we stop moths?
I need those.
So,
okay, so a week ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a week ago I had this rather panicked email. I don't know where I was at, working at home or something, probably had a sick child like usual. Yeah. With Amanda freaking out that we'd had a moth infestation on our sample shelf. So Amanda and I have some big shelves next to the desk where we have all our prototypes and things that have come from the factory, and they've often been, wash tested or we've cut them up or whatever. Yeah, and so we had this beautiful, Amanda had it all looking all beautiful, all the merino all stacked up. Yeah. And how did you discover the...
Oh, well, Amelia and I were talking, new product, and I pulled out actually this one, didn't I, Amelia? And I held it up. And now this has been washed, so this looks a little bit different now, because I washed it to kill the bugs, or kill the moth larvae, which we will explain shortly. And as we were talking, Amelia was like, oh, there's a hole there. And I was like, oh, crazy eyes. I was like, that's a moth hole. And so I went to my pile where I'd grabbed it. This was just the top one, and I don't think I touched the pile for about 6 weeks.
But this is, so you've got to remember, this is in our busy office. Our desks are not even 2 meters from this shelf, like reaching distance. It's a busy office. Even if we hadn't touched this particular pile of samples, because these were approved, these were, to do with the pilling and all of that. But we're on that shelf taking stuff, looking at, often getting down our lab dips or our print strike-offs or whatever. So it's in a really busy part of the office, and in 6 weeks...
And also folded, just, folded on a little.
And we have never seen a moth. Like down in the warehouse where all our stock is, we pay very close attention to it, because we have a vast amount of money tied up in our merino, and we don't want you buying it with holes.
And we've got our beautiful new compostable packaging as well.
Which we changed to the compostable packaging to give extra protection for moths as well. But I think for us, the thing that's really interesting about this, Amanda freaked out, whereas me and Amelia just were like, oh, such good learning, is that for you guys at home with your merino, we know people often buy merino, particularly at the end of the season when it's on sale, or you kind of stock up and it sits in your wardrobe or in a box or whatever. But the moths, you likely don't even see the moths. No. They're so sneaky. These photos here I'll show you. Are disgusting. That's so really blown up.
Yeah. So we pulled the pile out, investigated, and about 3 or 4 samples down, we found a little friend. Little moth larvae caterpillar.
Oh, that one. That's what we found. 4 garments down in the pile.
So just one, but this is more than one. So what would have happened is a little brown cloth moth would have flown in.
And they're tiny, aren't they?
Yeah, they would have come in, had a little
chomp.
Berry. Well, the brown moths generally don't eat, but they'll go in and they'll lay little eggs. And that's when those eggs hatch, they become the little caterpillar, this little one. And that's the one that will eat it all. Yeah. So it just kind of rolls around, and this is a devastatingly but really good example. It's just munched on the. And so the cuffs are nice because they can get in and get cozy and double layers.
And this is the blue one. So sad, the blue one the damage wasn't evident before washing, and this is often what happens when people have moth holes at home. Is you'll have had something that you've stored, and then you get it out to wash it for the new season, and it looked fine, or you bought it from us and it was fine, but somehow in the months it's been stored, this process of the nibbling will happen. Then you wash it and it comes out of the wash. That's when the damage, this has had
multiple munches.
Yeah, like that sleeve there is unbelievably bad.
And these would have just been relatively small, like Lou has said, or just like little nip threads. And then when you wash it, so I guess I can mute this really, because I've washed it hotter than it should have been washed, just to kill off the moth eggs. There's other ways you can
lurking around.
But you can sort of see, so they make these little cocoons, and they'll just travel and they'll give little larvae threads, and so that was actually really evident on the blue one.
Okay, so I thought we would just really highlight this pink top, because this is a classic moth hole. They're little holes. They start off little, but you can often tell it's a moth hole by the shape of the hole. So we'll put some, we've got photos on our article about merino care, but it's just such a classic example of what the damage looks like from moths, and how often there's multiple, but they don't have to be multiple. There could just be one hole.
Sleeves a good little example.
But and often as you wash it, the little things they've nibbled through, they make a hole as the fabric, or after you start wearing it again and it stretches, and so the nip kind of pulls a hole apart.
And they like the good merino. That's what they will get drawn to.
So this single jersey construction is most prone to moth holes, and the higher the micron. We do get a steady stream of people complaining that their ribbed merino, which is a very high micron, has holes in it. It's not our fault if you've got moths in your house, but
it happens to everybody.
It happens to everybody. It happened to our sample shelf, and I think the fact that we never saw the moths, it did all of this damage and through a pile of clothes, not just the thing on the top. And
there were things in between the layer that were unscathed, so it sort of just weakened its way.
So what should they do, Amanda?
I think at this time of year, it's really good just to sort of check through your cupboards, or your drawers and your wardrobes, and you can pop these little things down, just these little moth traps. So it's just like a sticky layer. We can get one out, but and it just pop it in your wardrobe, especially if you've got open wardrobes or wardrobes with doors that are left open quite frequently, and they'll get drawn to this, and it's just like a little sticky trap. So you're trying to catch, in this case, you're trying to catch the brown moth before it goes and lays eggs.
It turns into the caterpillar that eats the holes.
And there's a range of these. You can get them from the supermarket, the warehouse, Mitre 10, all sorts. So these are the sticky actual moth balls are like banned in New Zealand now since I think 2018.
And they make your clothes stink.
Yeah, they're really smelly. But you can use cedar wood balls because that repels them. So that's like if you get a moth in, it will attract to that little trap. But cedar mothballs, lavender, I think we've got a recipe on our website, and we were just talking, maybe we'll put a little bit more up. So just in amongst your clothes, in your drawers, with the cedar wood balls, just need to be careful that they can seep out, and you don't want them in your clothes, so just pop them in like a little cotton bag or something, and it's just the smell that repels them. But those are great for if something comes into your house. So and just be aware and wash, because once that they're there, it sort of becomes tricky because washing merino at high temperature, so I think it's 55-60 degrees is a recommendation for killing off moth larvae, which doing that is going to cause shrinkage. So you can freeze your garments and that, but you just want to really try preventing them from coming in and laying those little evil eggs.
And I think that the unfortunate thing about moths and holes in merino is that the better the quality the merino, the more they like it. And so I've had, over the years, I've had a bunch of icebreaker tops that have got holes in them. A bunch of my kids' stuff, probably because I don't pay that much attention to what's in their cupboards, or their things that are in sizes that currently don't fit any of my 4 children. So they're stored just in an open box in the top of their wardrobe, and then you pull it out and you're like, oh crap, and it's been destroyed. So I think it can happen to any of us, and it can happen more likely if you've got nice quality merino. You just really need to know that it is an issue and take as much.
Their favourite is merino and cashmere.
Oh, I don't have any cashmere,
and then
so
cotton. You can get it in cotton too, but they'll go for the good stuff there.
We did have a question on it actually. Someone had asked if our merino was treated at the factory with chemicals to protect from moths, and I'd never heard of that.
No, absolutely not. There's nothing that you can really do to stop it. It's just like a bird going to get a berry from a tree. It's a moth. It's a moth to a flame, but a moth to a merino garment. So there's nothing you can do to the
they're not treated with anything like that.
No, we actually don't put silicone on or anything to make them feel extra soft. We just use good quality micron merino, and that's why they feel so soft. We don't coat them with anything. So.
You don't fake it.
No, we just use the best stuff.
Does storing in plastic help, Amanda?
Closed container. I guess the only thing to be wary of with that is that sometimes if you store things in plastic, it can have like a plastic smell build up. But in a closed container would be ideal. For your winters, and often just popping them in a cotton pillowcase, or just because they won't be necessarily, they will still eat through cotton, but they won't be drawn to cotton in the same way as merino. So in a cotton pillowcase would also help.
And having one of those sticky traps.
Yeah, just one of these.
You might be surprised what it actually shows.
Yeah.
You know, like I always have those in my pantry and in the kitchen, and they are constantly covered with pantry moths. It's the same kind of concept. Even if you haven't actually seen any flying around for a while, they'll still be stuck on there.
I think when this whole thing unfolded the other day, I was so unbelievably fascinated.
Yes, you were.
Because I was like, Amanda's freaking out, and I was just like, this is like, I for some reason thought it was a moth that created the holes, and so I think if other people are like me, they're thinking, well, I can't see anything flying around my wardrobe. Nothing's
Holding my Merino.
It's like this little caterpillar looking thing that was actually doing the damage, and it left like little trails, and I was like, oh my word.
And unfortunately, they also love wool carpet. So if you've got wool carpet, you know.
Yeah, no, I swapped it for nylon. Whoops.
Yeah.